Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to explain the difference between an ESA, a service dog, and a therapy dog. I know I kind of made a video about this, but it was on my cell phone. It was really horrible. I wasn't even in it. So I wanted to make an official film video for it, even though I've already done this. But I want to make one I can edit and I want to put a disclaimer. This video is, everything I talk about is related to U.S. laws. I live in the USA, and I can't speak for other countries. So everything I'm going to mention is a USA law. So let's get to the video. So first we will start at therapy dogs. I see a lot online, miseducated people with ESA saying, I have a therapy dog. No, you have an emotional support animal, not a therapy dog. A therapy dog is, well, a therapy animal in general, can be any animal, and they are allowed in places to help comfort multiple people. So that might be like a hospital, a school after a disaster. He got his ball again. Every time I start filming, he grabs that. It could be a school after a disaster. Like a while back they had where school-age children could read to therapy dogs, hospitals, hospice, things like that, places to help comfort people. They need prior approval to be there. If like a hospital says, no, you can't bring your therapy dog or your therapy animal today, then they legally can do that. They legally can say, no, your therapy animal is not welcome here. They do need to be used to being around equipment, medical equipment, and be calm enough to sit in, patients' laps, because they can't always get up and play. So they need to be able to have that kind of a temperament. They're kind of the lowest bar. They don't get any no pet housing rights, and they don't get to ride in the cabin of a plane with a handler. They don't really get any extra rights. So the next one is emotional support animal. Or ESA. I've recently discovered the reason people think they can be in public is because people think the term is emotional service animal. They are not a service animal. It's an emotional support animal. Legally, they require no extra training. Not that people don't train them, but legally, they require no extra training. Although if you take them on a plane, they do have to be able to mind, and they can't be aggressive, obvious. But they require no extra task training. They don't have to, they can just pretty much act like a pet. They do get no pet housing rights or no pet deposit. So if you wanted to move to like university, you could have them in a university dorm, or you could have them in a no pet housing with no pet deposit. They are for someone with an emotional disability, so you do have to be disabled to have an emotional support animal. And their job is to comfort that person. And so they can comfort them around their house, which is why they're allowed in no pet housing or no pet deposit. And they are allowed in the cabin of a plane. So if you get anxious when you're going on an airplane, then you would also be able to legally have them ride in the cabin of a plane with you. They do not get public access rights. Other than those two things, they are just a pet, basically. I mean, they don't get any more rights than that. They get those two rights, and that's it. They do not get to go in no pet places, which people abuse or don't know about, which is really frustrating for service dog handlers when you see an ESA vest, because it's like your dog can't be here. So whatever, I almost used the wrong terms. Whatever, I don't know the right term. Whatever, if you have an emotional disability, you need an ESA or a service dog, whatever one you go with, you have to know the laws for that animal. So you can't, oh, and an ESA and therapy, they both can be any animal. Although airlines may exclude certain animals, they can exclude certain animals, like if it would be unsafe, or if it's just an exotic animal, such as a bird. They can exclude. The only ones they have to allow for airlines is dogs and cats, unless the dog's aggressive, then in that case it's different. So they can be any animal, and they do not get public access rights. They only get ACAA, Air Carriers Access Act, and FHA, Fair Housing Act rights. You do need to have an emotional disability and a letter from your doctor, not some fake scam site online that says, oh, register your ESA here. No, you need a note from your doctor saying that you have an emotional disability and you need an emotional support animal. So their job basically is to be a pet, be a support to you. If you have depression, their job is to basically get you out of the house on walks, because you have to walk them, take care of them. Yeah. Then, and I am going to put like facts throughout this video, probably too. And then a service animal. A service animal can only legally, by federal law, be mini horses and dogs. Mini horses in special occasions, like if you need a mobility service dog or service animal, then you can get a mini horse, so only in special circumstances. And they have to be task trained to help a debilitating disability, so this can be mental, physical, cognitive. Like if there's a task a dog would help you live independently or function in society, then that would work for you. Medical alerts, mobility, there's just so many different things. But the disability has to be debilitating. Like you can't just say, I have mild anxiety, I can get a dog now. Like you have to, that anxiety has to affect some part of your life, some aspect of your life. Like you can't leave your house ever, things like that. So whatever the disability is has to really affect your life. They can be multi-purpose, like Patches is. They can be, Patches is medical alert, light mobility, and psychiatric. And that's the difference between an ESA and a service dog too, is a psychiatric service dog is a task-trained service dog for a psychiatric disability, whereas an ESA is not. They're just there to comfort you for a mental disability. So there's different wordings between them too. He's got his ball again. Every time I sit down and film, he's like, oh, playtime, time to play with my ball. So I think it's because I'm talking. He thinks I'm talking to him or something. He's like, I don't know why you just talked to this camera. So service dog gets ADA, Americans with Disabilities rights, so they're allowed in no pet places like Walmart, Target, anywhere that sells or distributes food. Does not legally allow pets. They only are service dogs because of sanitary issues with having dogs around food. So only a task-trained service dog could be in like Target, Walmart. Even though people think those places are pet-friendly, they're not. So service dog has to be task-trained. They also have to be well-behaved. They have to be able to handle situations such as being in crowds, hearing loud noises, hearing disobedient dogs barking, because that will happen. They have to be well-adjusted to handle any situation, and they have to be under control at all times, which means not trying to see everyone they walk by, not sniffing food, not urinating on the floor. They have to be really, really behaved, held at a high standard. Legally, a business can ask 2 questions. Is this a service dog required for a disability, and what tasks is the dog trained to do to help mitigate that disability? Tasks might include medical alert, like mobility, psychiatric. You can go in deep in depth, like crowd control, diabetes alert. Like if you want to, you can go more in depth, but you legally don't have to because they legally can't ask your disability. And going more in depth might give that away. So legally you don't have to. I normally just say medical alert. Because that's one of his main tasks. So you kind of, you want to go in there? So they can legally ask those 2 questions. That's it. Legally in the U.S. there is no ID. I'll let him go back there. His food's back there, so he might be getting thirsty and hungry. So legally, There is no ID in the U.S. I personally wish there was one. It would help with fakes. It would help with people knowing the laws, because that would be easy to just tell a resort, oh yeah, you just ask for their ID. Personally, I'd rather show an ID than my dog get attacked because someone brought in an untrained emotional support animal or untrained emotional support animal or pet. Personally, I think it would be better showing an ID wherever I went rather than my dog getting attacked and barked at over and over and over again. So that's kind of the difference between them. I think I covered everything. I don't know. I kind of got distracted throughout this, and then I kind of lose my train of thought. So basically, to cut it down, a therapy dog comforts multiple people in disaster areas or people who need extra comforting, or sometimes just kids. Like, they comfort multiple people. A ESA comforts one person, but they're only allowed in no pet housing and in the cabin of a plane with its handler. And a service dog is only for one person too, but they're task trained to help mitigate a disability, and they're allowed all access required because they're classified as medical equipment. Now I'm going to get kind of into the things no one really talks about, which is, like, because I've seen so many of these videos, but no one talks about these. Service dogs in training, their laws are state by state. I'm very grateful my state allows a service dog in training. I don't know what I would have done otherwise. That would have been hard to train without having training rights, because you can't train everything in pet stores, buses, movie theaters, restaurants. You just can't train everything in pet stores, and so I feel like places that don't allow them, you know, once they're task trained, you have to put a vest that says service dog, even when they're still a little ill-behaved, because they can't get used to that stuff with the luxury of being able to still say, yeah, he's in training, he's going to make mistakes. So I personally don't know what I would have done. I'm really grateful I had the luxury of keeping on in a training patch so I could train him around all different things, with people knowing, yeah, you might make a few mistakes, he's definitely in training. So that would suck. So service dog and training rights are different based on states. I know some states you have rights, but you have to have a qualified trainer with you. Other states, like mine, my state says they are service dogs, so they can't be denied. Some states, they have zero access except in pet-friendly places. Some states, they have access, but you have to ask the store, and if they say no, no's no. So it depends on your state for your service dogs and training rights. And actually, even the ADA, by the ADA's definition, only dogs and mini horses can be service animals, but actually some states also broaden that to say cats can be, so I think that's a good thing to mention. If you come to my state, they don't have rights. You would not have rights anymore, but if you live, I don't know where exactly, but I know there is some states that say cats can be service animals. Don't personally know how a cat can be task trained, but okay. And so there are some states, and I think that's good to mention, is that there are some states where that's okay. My state's not one of them. We go by the federal law and we give service dogs and training rights, but other than that, we don't really have any like weird things like cats can be service animals. And so if your state recognizes cats as service animals and you get a cat, you'll have to know that if you go to a different state, they're not going to have rights anymore, because it's state rights. Yeah, it's state rights. So that's a good thing to note. But I'm really grateful my state allows a service dog in training, because that would be really hard if they didn't. And then another thing to talk about is in-home service dogs. Now, they're a little less common. They're not in ESA, but some people only need a service dog in home. Like if you only need your mobility support at home, or if you only need like your psychiatric tasks at home, things like that, you could have an in-home service dog, which is still a dog that's task trained. They're just not necessarily public access trained. Go get it! They're just not necessarily... Oh no, Drake going behind the couch. Oh no, he can get it. Okay. So an in-home service dog is a dog that is task trained, but they aren't public access trained because you only need the tasks at home. I mean, just because you need a psychiatric service dog doesn't necessarily need a psychiatric service dog for public. Or even some medical responses, if you need your service dog to bring you water, but not really any other mobility tasks, or if you need them to bring you your medicine, remind you to take medicine, things like that would be an in-home service dog task. Some psychiatric service dogs, some people get them for just in home because it makes them anxious to have their service dog in public. because people do stare and stuff, and so sometimes psychiatric tasks all you need are at home too, like waking you up from nightmares, deep pressure therapy, if you get scared while you're alone, things like that. So there's also in-home service dogs, which are a little less talked about. It's a service dog, but it just doesn't go into public, so that's a little different. So I just wanted to add those little bit of differences, because every time I've seen these videos, no one really talks about state laws or about in-home service dog laws, things like that, because there is a little bit of a difference there. So I think that's going to be my video. The point of this video is, I'll just do kind of an overview. So therapy dogs comfort multiple people. They comfort multiple people in disaster areas or people who need comforting, kids, things like that. ESAs comfort one person, but they're only allowed in no-pet housing and in the cabin of a plane. A service dog is a task-trained dog for a disability, and they get ADA and FHA and ACAA rights, so they can go anywhere the handler is allowed to go. That's another thing to know. Anywhere the handler is allowed to go. So if I can't go back into the kitchen at the restaurant, neither can my dog. He's allowed anywhere I can go, legally.
I wanted to add in here, a better example of that would be, there was a story a while back of this guy. He was upset because they wouldn't let him go back with a service dog to the grooming salon. Now that was completely legal because the dog does not have the access right, the handler does, and the general public is not allowed to go back there with their dogs, and so therefore the person was not allowed to legally go back there with their dog. Not to mention it's so unsafe for your dog to be trying to alert while he has scissors next to his eye and one of those choke leashes on, so I don't even know, why he thought that would be a good idea to begin with. Not to mention there's small spaces, and he was in a wheelchair, so it would have took up so much room. So that's a better example of they had a right to say you could not go back there with your dog because the general public could not go back there with their dogs. So if that makes sense, he can go to the store where the general public can be, but he can't go back to the grooming salon with his dog.
So if I get a job, he'd be allowed to go there, with exceptions for jobs. Like if you're a firefighter, that would not be safe. If you work in a kitchen, they can exempt you from that because of having dog dander around food that you're preparing for people. So there's some exemptions for jobs. But like if I wanted to work at Walmart, he'd be legally allowed to come with me. If I go back to school, which I'm hoping to do, then he'll be allowed to come with me. Movie theaters, stores, get it. Because even though an ESA can be in like the dorm of a college, they still cannot go to your classes with you, because that would still be an ADA right. They can be around campus, like you can take them out on walks and that kind of thing, and they can walk through the halls to get there, but they can't like go sit in a class with you. Get it? So I think that's just kind of, I think I covered everything. I know I wasn't too scatterbrained. Patches always distracts me when I sit down to film. I think it's because he sees I'm sitting down and talking to something, and then he's like thinking I'm gonna play with him or something, because he always starts like wanting to play. Get your ball! It's not under there. It's over there. It's over there. Get it. There it is. So yeah. So that is the basis of this video. I hope everyone learned something. It's really annoying because a lot of people don't know the rights, and whatever animal you get, if you're going to label them as something, you should know their rights. I mean, if you're going to label them service dog, you should know the rights. If you're going to label them ESA or therapy dog, you should know those rights. Because I've seen ESAs labeled as service dogs, ESAs like not labeled like people say that they're service dogs, even when they say the task is comfort, which under the ADA is not a task. And I've seen people say that ESAs are also therapy dogs, which is not the case either. So it's kind of like, if you're going to get a dog, I mostly see uneducated ESA owners more than anything. Normally people with normally people with service dogs and therapy dogs both know their laws and what their dog is, but I've seen the most miseducation with ESAs because people think they're emotional service animals, which they're not, or people think that they're therapy animals because that's kind of the same, but it's totally different in the laws and in the scheme of laws. So I hope that makes sense, and so I think that's all for today. I hope you liked my video. I don't know. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Hello, everyone. everyone. Thanks for visiting my channel at Officially Lydia's Life. Please like, subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, and leave a nice comment if you have something to say. Thanks. Bye.